Okay. You just filed a lawsuit against who?
Madison County, Mississippi, doing business as Madison County Sheriff's Department.
And what's your cause of action?
This is a USERRA claim, essentially claiming that the Madison County Sheriff's Department has discriminated against one individual because of his service under the National Guard, and another individual for complaining about it who had made an audio tape of the conversation to prove the discrimination.
Who are the plaintiffs?
Rodney Thompson is the first plaintiff, who is the National Guardsman that applied with the Madison County Sheriff's Department, and the other plaintiff is Josh Hobbes, who is a patrolman working for the Madison County Sheriff's Department at the time.
And what exactly happened?
Mr. Thompson applied in 2009 for a job and was turned down. A few months later, Mr. Hobbes went in and did an undercover tape, essentially audio tape, with the individual that made the decision to not hire Mr. Thompson. On that audio tape, which is linked into the complaint, shows that the only reason for his not being hired was because of his military service on there, and that is clearly illegal under USERRA. And as well, there is a claim for Mr. Hobbes because after he made the audio recording a few months later, he complained to the same individual and went in and was told essentially that he would be terminated for his complaint. The very next day, he was called in, terminated by the sheriff, told that he was being terminated for insubordination with regard to the deputy chief that he had recorded. So that is the claim here, that it's a retaliation for his whistleblowing.
What did they claim the insubordination was?
They didn't specify. From our understanding, the only insubordination that they identified was with the deputy chief that has been identified as the decision maker with Mr. Thompson. Had
he ever had any disciplinary problems before with the department?
Mr. Hobbes had a write-up in 2008, and it was, I apologize, I don't remember the exact specifics. It wasn't anything severe. It was not anything that had followed up with any other write-ups since. I believe it was with cause to an absence, but I would have to go back and look to the record to be specific on that.
But how could you describe their records? What was Mr. Thompson's service record?
Mr. Thompson's has been with the National Guard for several years. He's currently still with the National Guard. Mr. Hobbes started with the Madison County Sheriff's Department in 2006 and was employed there with a good record until his termination in July or June of 2011.
And how long? And both of them are police officers. So
correct.
How long has each one of them been in law enforcement?
Mr. Hobbes has been in law enforcement, from my understanding, close to 10 years, and Mr. Thompson has been as well, and he has worked for other police departments. Besides applying for Madison County, he has worked for other police departments.
Do you know which ones?
He has worked for the Mississippi State Police Department. That was his last position. I don't know the specifics on every single one prior to that, but I know the last stint he had was with the Mississippi State Police Department.
What are the damages you are seeking in this lawsuit?
Under USERRA, you can seek back wages, essentially the loss and damages that both plaintiffs would have received had they, in Mr. Hobbes' case, not been terminated, and in Mr. Thompson's case, been employed to the position that he was seeking. You can also seek liquidated damages, which are an equal amount to whatever the back wages are at the time of trial. And as well, we're seeking reinstatement or actual employment for Mr. Thompson, and I guess reinstatement for Mr. Hobbes on there. In lieu, if there's not a position available or there's too much animus between the parties, the court can award future wages in lieu of reinstatement or employment for Mr. Thompson. And in that case, the court makes a determination and determines how long it would take Mr. Hobbes or Mr. Thompson to find employment making as much money as they would have had the bad acts not occurred. As well, we are seeking attorney's fees and costs.
What about punitive damages?
There are no punitive damages available under USERRA on there, so that's just not a remedy that can be solved.
Gotcha. And Chief Belvidresse, what is his role at the Madison County Sheriff's Office from what you understand? Is he in charge of human resources? Does he do the hiring, the recruiting, or what would you say is his role?
From my understanding, he does the recruiting on there, and he is the point man that reviews the applications, interviews individuals, and makes the decisions on who will be hired at the department. He is the deputy chief at this time.
Back to your client, sorry I forgot to ask earlier, but what is Mr. Thompson's service record in the military? Has he seen duty anywhere overseas? Has he, what is his rank? How would you describe it?
Mr. Thompson has served in Iraq, I believe. His last service was 3 years ago. And he served, I believe, one stint in Iraq. That actually, in our complaint, has been brought up because it was something that I believe the chief or the deputy chief was concerned about, was that his prior stint in military service had been questioned on there, and that is clearly against the law.
And do you know his rank?
I do not know his rank. I believe he is a staff sergeant, but I do not know the specific rank of him.
Gotcha. And do you know what unit he was attached to?
I do not.
Okay. That's it.